Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. For this Sketchbook Sunday, we are going to draw this little pot of succulents that actually we picked up for my mom for Mother's Day, and I thought it was so pretty that it would be fun to sketch before I gave it to her. So actually sketched this last week. I wanted to get a little bit ahead because I know I'm going to be doing some traveling later this month, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss another Sunday. So I started off with a permanent pen, and this was a Tombow Mono permanent pen that came in my Smart Art box this month, and I'm using the fine tip end. There's kind of like a fine tip or an extra fine tip and a fine tip, so this would be like the extra fine tip. You could use a Sharpie or a Pitt pen or a micron, whatever you have. So basically I'm just loosely sketching in the different foliage that I see, and I did take a photo of the cup and I put it right there on the screen so you could kind of see what I am sketching. It's pretty much the vantage point that I was looking at it from, but it might, I could obviously move around and peek around behind different succulents if I wanted to get a better look. But basically keeping it really easy breezy here, easy breezy beautiful pot of succulents, and I'm going wet into dry here on the paper. I have ultramarine blue and a little bit of phthalo blue, and by the way, the paint that I'm using, I've got some Daniel Smith in my palette there, but I've also got my Aquafine palette just out of reach. I've been using that a lot lately because it's summer workshop season, and my teaching rig that I go around when I'm supplying materials for my students is Aquafine palettes. And I just like to make sure I'm really in the groove with those paints this time of year to make sure if there's any nuances that I need to account for that I'm aware of them. And I am using this is a, it's a Princeton Neptune. Oh my gosh, brain cramp there. It's a Princeton Neptune brush that I'm using. I like it a lot. Very similar to the Royal and Langnickel Mentas or Zens or the Mimic Kolinsky Faux Squirrel brushes. Really, really juicy, absorbent brush. It's very similar to like a squirrel quill, but it is animal free, obviously, just like the Mentas and the Mimics. So definitely worth a try. Those were pretty much, the Neptunes were pretty much all you could find for a really good synthetic faux fur brush for the longest time, and they're a little on the pricier side compared to like the Royal and Langnickel Mentas or the Creative Marks, but they're good. I mean, any of those three are good, and depending on where you live, you're going to have different availability. So I'm basically just dabbing on color. The nice thing about having a permanent pen sketch to begin with is that you can be real loose with the color and you still have the detail and the foundation of your pen lines. Now, something that's really pretty about these succulents, and I'm not sure if you can see from that on-screen thing, I'll have to put a link of the photo on Google Drive or on my blog so you can have that to refer to as well. But the neat thing about a lot of these succulents is that they kind of are rimmed in red, and so if you kind of go in after your first wash has started to set up and you just go with a brush with paint but very little water on it, you can go and trace the edges of those wet petals, and then it gives you a really subtle look, and it's quite accurate. So so give that a try. And it's Sketchbook, right? We're working on our Sketchbook, which gives us the freedom and leeway of experimenting. So what if some paint bleeds or feathers or does something unexpected? This is the place we want that to happen so we can learn. I'm going to zoom out here so you can see the entire shadow area as well as the foliage in the mug. And to get that shadow underneath, I just mix up colors until I get a neutral. I was using some of that magenta and some green, I think, for that particular shade that I put underneath. And I kind of wet the area and then I add the color and just kind of let it float out. Nothing too fancy there, and you can experiment with different shading techniques to see what you like best. The thing I love about the sketchbook is that I can be completely free. I can experiment, I can play with colors, I can play with mixing, I can use paints that are a little more experimental and not have to worry about anything. Your sketchbook protects your artwork really well, so even if you do create a masterpiece and maybe you use student grade paints or paints you're not aren't sure about the light fastness or markers or whatever, it's going to be closed in a sketchbook and fairly protected. So you do have that peace of mind there. I decided to do a little highlighting with a white color pencil because why not? It's my sketchbook. I feel like it. And that pretty much is it. I want to thank you so much for watching today. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below and I will try to get back to you. Thanks for joining me for another Sketchbook Sunday. And until next time, happy crafting.